Good evening. My name is Pastor Kim Rapchak, and I am broadcasting from my church in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. I'd like to welcome everyone to this memorial service remembering our dear friend Mark. A special welcome to Carrie and the boys and any other of Mark's family who are present with us. I'd like to also thank Shelley Roche for making this broadcast possible on the Tiny Kittens Network. So I'd invite you, if you haven't done so already, to light your candles. We have a few candles burning here on our altar in Pennsylvania in memory of Mark, our delightful, kitten-loving, funny Mark. The way our service will work is I will begin with a reading, a short meditation, a few prayers, and then a eulogy, which was written by Canary, who most of us, I'm sure, know. And she was not able to read it herself, but I will be reading it for you. And again, we will then conclude with prayer. I'm sure people will like to stay around and chat a bit afterwards. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I will leave the camera on if you want to continue to chat here, or you can go back to one of the normal Tiny Kittens rooms. So let us begin knowing that we are gathered from all over the world in the presence of the one that we know by many names, the one who created us all, who created Mark, who created the tiny kittens he so loved. We are indeed gathered in the presence of love and life itself. Remember our brother Mark. A reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. A time for life, and a time for death and renewed life. The passage which I just read, I'm sure, is very familiar to most people. It speaks of the events of our lives. Though it was written thousands of years ago, it speaks of the universal human experience of joy and despair, of sickness and health, of life, and indeed of death. Now we're gathered here today because our friend Mark has left us seemingly in a very untimely manner. We all say Mark was far too young. And I can only think about how Mark has been worrying about Harry, and he had no clue. He had no clue. Time would catch up with him, even as he came to the hospital to take her home. We all know the circumstances of Mark's leaving us. But I think what is more important to think about is what Mark brought to us during his lifetime. Those of you who knew and loved him best, his family and close friends, and of course this worldwide community of tiny kittens and indeed of other kitten cams that Mark visited. Mark was, of course, someone who enjoyed a laugh, enjoyed a joke, as we all know, but he could be serious too. And I had a few serious conversations with him, not a few of which weren't political. The thing I always admired about Mark, though, is even when talking about politics, which can get pretty heated, he maintained the standard of a man who loved, a man who understood that he was called to love everyone he encountered. Yes, there could be disagreement. Yes, there could be different ways of looking at things. But I know at the end of every one of those conversations, we parted as friends, even if a little tiny bit agitated. I just want to say, though Mark and I shared a different kind of faith, as so many of us do here in the kitten cam world, we have everything that you can think of, and we also have people who have no explicit religious faith. But it doesn't matter, because we are gathered in love, not just today, but we are gathered in love every time we log on and watch those kittens and interact with one another. Love is what Mark was about. And if I may share from my own perspective, love is what God is about. That's what I call this mysterious force which animates the universe. Others of you have different names for it. But no matter what, love has brought us together, and love remains with us in life and in death. Mark has made his mark on the kitten cam world, and we will never forget him. And we give thanks to that one who I call God, another may call a goddess, another may call Father God or Mother God, another who may just call the source, another who may call it the universe. We give thanks for Mark, for the time that we had him with us. We give thanks for his sense of humor. We give thanks for his sensitivity. And we give thanks for his wisdom. And now I would like to read some of the words that Canary has written to continue to honor Mark. From Canary. Most of you here today met Mark through the wonderful world of the internet. Myself, Canary of Tiny Kittens Cat Pack, met Mark in the chat of Tiny Kittens live stream nearly 3 years ago. Mark was such a funny, bright, uplifting man, and we would all look forward to seeing him in the chat for Tiny Kittens. Being funny and geeky, he would trick me into thinking he could see me at my computer from his. I stopped in my tracks and said, "What?" Ever since then, I keep the USB cord unplugged until I'm ready to use my webcam. After watching several of the Shelley litters all get adopted, the latest being the Firefly litter, we started a funny, crazy chat conversation one evening about how we could all stay in touch with each other once the webcam was shut off in between litters. At that time, we were staring for a while at a board in Shelley's bathroom, and at a half-shredded roll of toilet paper, and at a moose. We know who that moose is, shepherd moose. During this rather lively chatting, a lot of silly, crazy ideas got discussed. Then Mark came up with Rat Pack, which then changed to Cat Pack, and we decreed that we were the Cat Pack. Then a little later, it was called the Tiny Kitten Cat Pack. So the next morning I got up, and the first thing I did while having my coffee before work was to search Facebook to see if anyone had TKCP. Well, as luck would have it, that was already taken by a tech-related group. So I thought for a moment. I knew how to make this work, and I searched Tiny Kittens Cat Pack, and no one had that. So I went ahead and created the page, and TKCP was born on October 6, 2013. I told Mark about it and brought him on as an administrator, and we still had our TKCP, even it was just 3 words. He designed a brilliant logo for the page and helped to write about that part. So that is why we have a moose and the toilet paper on the logo. Mark also would post very funny photos, videos, and such daily, and we all would come and see Mark's funny post for the day. We brought in some more admins, and we had our roles and duties. Mark's was the best, being the director of humor. Mark touched hundreds of thousands of lives all the way around the globe with his light and his sense of humor through Tiny Kittens Cat Pack. Just shortly before he passed, we had hit a milestone on the page by going over 5,000 likes. He was so excited that he sent out a PM to all the admins to do some type of tribute to the page and our membership. Each one of us was to do this and get it done up online by Monday, December 21st. This was his last all-team admin private messaging to us. He passed away shortly after he sent that message at 1:30 p.m. on December 16th. Mary writes, Mark, I'm asking that you channel your humor and your resources as to where you found the hilarious things, as I would like to try and carry on your legacy forward on Tiny Kittens Cat Pack. I know those will be some big shoes to fill, but I will do my best to not let you down. In closing, Mark was a husband, a father, a son, a brother, and a friend to so many. We love you and honor you, dear Mark, and send much love and prayers to your family. Until we meet again on the other side, rest in peace and keep the laughter going. With much love from the Tiny Kitten Cat Pack administrators, Sue McNellis, Shelley Richey, Little Darling, Lisa Eshelman, and Canary. And in closing, let's take a moment to pray, to send good thoughts and love and light and peace to Mark's family, and to bring ourselves into the presence of one who loves us all. Loving God, thank you again for the life of Mark among us. We thank you for his humor. We thank you for this worldwide community that gathers together to share our love of teeny tiny kittens and many other things. Welcome Mark into your arms. Welcome him into that place which is prepared for him as a son of God. Comfort his family. Comfort all of us who mourn. And give us a sure and certain hope that death cannot overcome life, that life will always overcome death, and that with what seems to be death, that we always remember that life is changed, not ended. Rest in peace, Mark. Thank you, we love you, and we'll never forget you. Amen. Our service is now concluded.